Okay, last but not least, we have our last speaker, Heather Wang from Merck, and I'll just say that so the group that she comes from is very active in the LC community, 2D-LC community, in terms of thinking about workflows for method development and really how to bring 2D-LC into the mainstream of pharmaceutical R&D. So Heather, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Haidar. I come from Merck. The group I'm in called Analytical Development and Screening. Actually, we screen the columns and the multiphase to support method development. We do chiral screening and the achiral screening for all the compounds that we deal with. We have, in our lab, we have 36 instrument, including GC, SFC, and UPLC, LC. We have one 2D-LC. And most of the instrument is they are screening system with multiple columns and multiple mobile phases. So usually we, for example, we have 3 chiral SFC screening system with totally 18 chiral columns and 4 modifiers. We also have achiral screening, achiral reverse phase screening, and we have a HIC screening system. We have exchange screening system. We have a helix screening. So all the type of the chromatography screening, I think we have. Then usually we set up the screening at later afternoon and let the screening running overnight. So next day in the morning, and we look at the data and we pick the best column and mobile phases for the further optimization. So that's the workflow we do. In most of cases, we're dealing with a lot of small molecule method development, but recently there are a lot of more large molecule methods development requests. So the work we have done, I will talk about that is what we did in our lab. So introduced automatic online multi-column 2D-LC screening as a fast and efficient tool for method development and multiple pipeline metabolites. Do I use this? Okay. So outline for this talk is I will talk about the increased complex of therapeutic metabolites, and also I'll talk about the challenge, analytical challenge we're facing with traditional analytical workflows. Then I will introduce our online multi-column 2D-LC with a diode and mass spec screening system. Finally, I will give some applications for this new tool. All right. So the pharmaceutical therapeutics are fast transitioning from the small molecule dominated focus on the more balanced portfolio of small molecule and non-small molecule drugs. So those 2 posters is created by a research group at the University of Arizona. And the percentage of the non-small molecules drug from 10% in 2006 increases to 28% in 2018. So if you look at the drug approved by FDA through the year, before the year 2000, so the most of the drug is small molecule, but recently we can see the trend of large molecules drugs increases. For the top 10 best-selling drugs in the 222, 7 of the 10 drugs are the large molecules. So as more and more large molecule products are being developed, the analytical method development and the challenge of the biological become an incredible challenge. So our group's goal is pioneer the analytical method development to handle the increasingly complex targets. This is the method development theory. So there are several method development practices. So the first one, usually we follow the preferred method development scheme based on the experience. We can choose the column and also change the other parameter like mobile phase pHs and organic modifier. And also you can use the method development software like ACD and LC simulator to run the few predicted injection and get the prediction for the best result. And also you can evaluate and screen in multiple columns and multiple mobile phases in a manual or the automated fashion. So our group is focused on the last one. We screen the column and mobile phase by automatic way. So there's the simple LC instrument with 2 column and 4 mobile phase line. And to increase the speed of method development, you can add in the column switch valve on the column compartment to get install more column, and also you can add in the multiple line the solvent switch valves get more mobile phases. If that's not enough to increase the screening capacity, you can add in more column in there, and also the more mobile phases. But on the one-dimensional LC screening, no matter how many columns you put it on and how many mobile phases you are adding on the pump, there's still a challenge even with the most powerful screening technique. So for example, the analysis of the warfarin and the hydroxide warfarin mixture. So this is a totally 5 warfarin compound and the 4 isomers with a hydroxide group in the different position. So then for this, to monitor those 10 isomers, the best the approach is SFC method. So we can screen on the SFC and with different columns. So we got a separation, but to monitor one of them, it's hard because, for example, the A hydroxide warfarin, which is the red trace on the top, and those are the elution order is changes based on the different chiral columns. So it's hard to monitor those compounds based on the peak area. And also, at this case, the MS doesn't help because the hydroxide warfarin has the same molecular weight and also shares similar mass spec fragmentation pattern. So at this case, so let's us think about the multi-dimension separations. There are another example. Also, we analyze the reaction mixture. So on the one-dimensional UPLC, achiral UPLC screen, crossing the multiple columns and the mobile phases, we got most of the impurities separated out. But however, there are the peak interest, which is the highlighted with the star in this figure. They are co-eluted with a demethylation byproduct on our screening condition. So in this case, so we also think about, with this do the multi-dimension separations maybe help to get this reaction, to monitor this reaction. So this is a typical 2D-LC setup. I think everybody knows that. And our 2D-LC is relatively complicated. We add in 6 position column switch valve on the first dimension column compartment. We also add another 6 position column switch valve externally on the second dimension column compartment externally. And we adding 12 solvent switch valve. No, one solvent switch valves with the 12 lines, and to increase the multi-phase selection to improve the first dimension separation. Together with the diode on both dimension and the mass spec on the second dimension. So it allowed us to explore with different column and multi-phase for screening a very complex mixture. To screen a very complex mixture and in the automatic way, without chromatography purification. All right, so the 2D online multi-column 2D-LC can be configured with like a chiral column in the first dimension and the second dimension, and also you can configure it with a chiral column in the first dimension and a chiral column in the second dimension. So the method with online hard cutting and high resolution sampling, also coupled with the diode detector, diode and the mass spec as detectors, combined with the multiple column selections, it allows us to give us the screen and for method development and analysis for the very complex compound. So we can use this setup to apply, apply on the following studies, so it can solve can solve the challenge we face with the first dimension chromatography. All right, so this is the example I just mentioned that. So we with the first dimension SFC multi-column screening, it doesn't. We cannot get very good method to monitor those components. So we consider the 2D-LC setup approach. So it makes this analysis much easier. What we did is we choose the best separation with a chiral column and as a first dimension column, and use the like C18 column with 0.1% phosphorate and ACN, separated those 5 components in the first dimension. Then we hard cut the peak we are interested in and send it to the second dimension with screening with multiple chiral columns. So you can see, the first dimension with hard cutting the peak we are interested in and the screen on the second dimension. They are, for example, the chiral column can separate it, can get a baseline separation for the 2 enantiomer on each compound. So this method is only possible with the online multi-column functionalities. So in this analysis, we can get the area % for all the impurities, all the components in the first dimension. In the meantime, we also can get the enantiometric access, which is the EE value for each component on the second dimension. So this setup has some features. So first of all, we can use MS incompatible buffers in the first dimension to improve the separation. So without affecting the mass spec analysis in the second dimension, you can use the mass spec friendly multiphase in the second dimension. Also, you can hard cut in the peak and be injected in the second dimension, use different kind of stationary column. So this case is the A chiral and the chiral setup, the stationary isomer of the interest are selectively isolated from the rest of the chemical species. So this with the one-dimensional, it's not possible with a one-dimensional SFC chromatography. So they cannot do that. This is another example which we can use online multi-column 2D-LC to confirm the peak purities. So I think Qinggang already talked about that. We also use that. For example, we got a method from the project group. They want to make sure the method is good enough to separate all the impurities. There are no impurity peak hidden underneath the peak. So we use their method, exactly the condition on the first dimension. Then we do multiple hard cutting on the peak interested and send this to the second dimension with multiple columns with different stationary phase. So we make sure there are no actual peak separated out. And so the peak purity confirmed by automatic online multi-column 2D-LC. This one also I already mentioned it before, and with the one-dimensional achiral screening can separate most of the impurities, but cannot separate those methylated and demethylated two compounds. Then in our screening condition, so we pick the best condition as a first dimension, then we can hard cut in the peak we're interested in and send it to the second dimension with multiple columns. And this time, the second dimension, we put a few achiral columns and the chiral columns. So we can see only the chiral column can separate those the methylated compound and the demethylated compound as a baseline separation. Also, the peak identity was confirmed by mass spec. So the hard cutting on the achiral-chiral combination is the only method that resolve the major impurity and enable reaction monitoring. All right, this is another example recently we just did it. We for the protein L1 protein analysis, and the first dimension we put SEC column. And for example, this is the blue and green trace is the protein standard. So the red and pink trace is the mix, the reaction mixture from the cell culture sample. And so we can SEC column can separate the larger molecules, and also some smaller molecular weight molecules. So we only cut the parts, the molecular weight is similar as on the L1 protein. So we send this to the second dimension with 5 achiral reverse phase column, and we found that we picked the bioshell C4 with a large pore size of the column can separate it, got a very good separation. So again, the red green trace is L1 monomer, and the pink and red, blue and green trace is the L1 monomer standard, and the red pink trace is the mixture, the fraction of the mixture on the second dimension. So you can see there the lot of impurities separate up from the L1. We use this condition can do the protein quantitation, and also again we can do the impurity characterization, because it's impossible to use the SEC because condition, because the SEC has a very, and the mobile phase has a lot of salt. It's not mass spec friendly. All right, the conclusion, automatic multi-column online 2D-LC with diode and mass spec approach are the developed for the separation and analysis of a complex pharmaceutical mixture. Multi-column selection valves technology in both dimensions shows excellent chromatographic performance and repeatability. This technique enables rapid and efficient identification of the column and the illusion combination, as well as the sample analysis across the multiple columns in both dimensions. So overnight with a single click. Finally, I will thank Merck's leadership for the support and the Merck internship program. We got a very good intern to help us to do the work, and also the other colleagues for this, whoever involved. Thank you.